Today, what I want to do is to just tell you a little story about, very simply, some amazing people doing amazing things, powered by an amazing tool, which is called the GC Index. The amazing people is a client of mine, Mint, and they are a very purpose-led organization. They launched a trust called Mint Trust, and the trust works with a partner called the Ekukhanyeni Relief Project. And this relief project really activates their work on the ground. And through this process, it's got me thinking, how can the GC Index make a more purposeful contribution in the world, and how can we tie it to purpose? And that's the question that I want to throw out at the end. So I'm not going to spend a long time on the slides. I'll just flick through them and we'll have a look at the profiles and the work that we've done. And then I'd be interested to hear what people think. So just to say that 33 Emeralds is a master GC Index partner, and we've walked along path with the GC Index UK, who's been incredibly supportive for us over the time. Really what we believe in is that the world of work can just be better. And so what we do is we develop leaders and we build social capital in teams. That's tech entrepreneur Margaret Heffernan's concept, social capital. And then we're also trying to raise awareness of more business, more conscious business approaches and methods. And those are our three key streams, which is why it makes us so nice for us to work with a company called Mint. There's a lot on that slide, but all I want to say about them is they're an amazing company, a very strong game-changing leadership team, IT consultancy and a Microsoft partner. And you can see how many awards they scoop at the bottom there. They really do amazing stuff. But what really impresses me about Mint is that they are a people first company, and this is not just lip service, and it's people first internally as well as people outside of the organization. And also that they are these champions of sustainable business, and this is really built into their strategic pillars. So much so that in 2019, they launched a trust, and the trust is called 1,000 Little Stars, which is the Sekolo Sa Dinaledi Trust. And this is really a nation building initiative. And what it's helping Mint to do is to live to that high purpose. So they're trying to empower everyone to reach a full potential. Now, the Mint Trust works on the ground with a partner called Ekukhanyeni Relief Project. And what Ekukhanyeni does is they educate, they employ, and they also feed. So through early childhood development centers, they do things like plant school gardens, but they also educate and they employ people in those centers. And they have some very, very ambitious targets. So you can see that scaling objective there. By 2030, 500,000 children to go through their early development model. And this is largely being supported by Mint through the Mint Trust. And it's not just channeling spend and not knowing where it's going to. Companies are quite heavily involved in this journey, so that they can live their higher purpose. And you can really see that there's a return on investment model here. So why am I telling you all about this? The reason why I'm telling you about this is because I think that there is a link between the impact that the GC Index makes and how we can live a higher purpose as a business. So if you look at what the word consciousness means, it means being awake, being aware, being mindful. And if you look at what a conscious, business is, it's all about engaging in that mindful, awake fashion. And for those of you who are familiar with the Edelman Trust Barometer, if you don't know about it, look it up. They do fantastic work. They do an annual survey. We see each year that companies and leaders are expected to do well, but also to do good in society and to stand up and speak out on issues to make a positive social impact. So if you see at the bottom there, I've got personal impact. This is where the GC Index comes in. So there's a man or a lady with no hair looking in the mirror. So this is that reflection, self-awareness. So this is what the GC Index does for us, is it increases that self-awareness so that we can jump over more hurdles, because if we're aware of our proclivities, we can build them and leverage our strengths. And we do the same at a team level with the GC Index. And my theory is that perhaps we can use the GC index as a methodology to underpin a process where organizations are encouraged to discover and live to their higher purpose. So lofty aim, but we see how we go. This is the work that we actually did with the trust and Ekukhanyeni. We originally profiled 2 members of the trust because we'd been working with Mint, our client, in the leadership team for a couple of years, and they were all GC indexed. And when I worked with 2 people from the Mint Trust, it became clear that there was another key person in the equation in terms of channeling funding in the right way, and that was the head of Ekukhanyeni Relief Project. So what we then did is we did the head of the project as well to see how the 3 roles fit and support each other. And these are the common questions we would run in any solution. So what energizes a person most? What do we need to watch out for? Because we know that the blind spots or derailers can drag down an impact. Where do we complement each other? And what are the gaps or the risk areas? So here we go. Here are the 3 profiles. I've just taken the names off, but I've put the pictures in because they're quite nice to look at. And what we see is quite interesting. We see the head of the Mint Trust. So just to say about the Mint Trust, they're actually pioneering this new model of helping companies to channel their CSR fund in good ways. So they're pioneering a model where they can channel that spend to projects on the ground that are established, not reinventing the wheel, that are really doing good in the community. And the Relief Project is an example of that. So they encourage corporate funders and donors, but they really want to expand that model much more. So it's beyond just one project. And I think when we got his profile back and we looked at that very strong 9 game-changing score, you can see why he would take on this ambitious project of trying to pioneer a new model in the space, but not so much appetite for the doing. So you see that 3 on implementer. The trustee, on the right-hand side, you can see strong energy in the polishing space. So we had that usual conversation around what's your 80-20? When is good enough good enough? How do you know when to let go? And we also discovered that her polisher is very well moderated by that 6 on implementer. So she does have a sense of when, getting things moving and shifting. And then the last profile on the left, the head of the Relief Project, is quite an interesting profile. You might look at this and originally assume that this profile might be a little bit latent. We wouldn't call it latent just because there are no high scores in it, because there's also a differentiation here. If you look at that 3 on polishing. So when we sat down and had our feedback session, it was actually quite clear that her energy lies very much in the playmaking space and the game-changing space. But what was happening is that she runs a huge, big team. You can see her sitting with her kids there. She's very, very thinly stretched in the work that she does. So they have these huge plans to scale, and yet there's so much to do that she is burning out. We see this with playmakers as well. Give, burn out. So those are some interesting insights individually. If we look at these profiles together, and when we did our some of the group work, some of the insights were quite interesting. What they said is that, so the 2 people from the trust said, we seem to have missed a lot of things. For example, they thought that the head of the Relief Project would be more bottom heavy on the profile. So they thought she was a strong polisher, and they were very surprised at that game-changing inclination. And what they did is they tried to work on helping her to let go of some projects, not projects, but some of the stuff that she was doing to free up her time, and to give her more time to be creative and just to take a breather, and also to spend more time with her staff to activate that playmaking contribution. For the top right profile, one of the trustees, because of that strong polisher and the implementer, what's happened is that this person is putting in a lot more input, and action, and is taking care of a lot of marketing stuff, a lot of social media stuff, and also looking at the documents behind the the documents and presentations that go to potential funders, donors, etc. And then on the left-hand side here, the head of the trust is really focusing on those big goals, keeping everybody motivated. And we know that it's a tough market at the moment, and you really need to put your head down in terms of trying to create innovative new ideas to source funding over the COVID times. And so his energy is really focused on how to keep pioneering those business models, and also to create inspirational and game-changing ideas, so that it can involve more people in the work that they're doing. So what's happened is that the Relief Project is now working in a better collaboration with the trust, and their chances of being able to scale to those very ambitious targets in 2030 are a little bit closer and more aligned than they were in the past. And here are some of the comments that they've sent through after that. So you can see what's happened is that they have a better understanding of where their natural energy lies, a better appreciation of where each other's energy lies, and they're trying to realign what they all do to activate that, which is quite a beautiful story, I think. And they're very, very passionate. Yeah, very, very passionate about what they're doing. And you can just feel that when, the trust is called 1,000 Little Stars, and it feels like they're just able to shine a bit more and start to liberate more of the impact, which is going to create a better world, which sounds a bit light and fluffy, but it's really tangibly happening on the ground. So in summary from my story, I've got a little journey here. So whether you want to just make a little ripple or a big splash, you need to identify what the gift is that you bring to the world. And the gift is your GC index proclivity. Because once you plug that in and activate it, it's going to give you the energy to keep going. And also with the team impact, keep going at scale so that we can get to this final bigger impact in the world. And in the words of Margaret Heffernan, just because we don't know the future, it doesn't mean we're helpless. So if we can convene our collective human imagination and our strengths and our passions, imagine what we could achieve. And I'll just give you the last slide, which is about the trust.